We're all living off of anxiety. You got some people that's dealing with depression. You got some people that's dealing with anxiety. But until we find that present moment, we will suffer, and we're choosing to suffer at that. And I close out this topic saying that we're choosing our own suffering because we fear love.
Roll me, Mac.
What is your biggest relationship fear? Maybe not fear, but a concern and awareness when it comes to like relationships is more so the self-sabotage routine, which I've grown accustomed to throughout my years of dating. I'll say that. And what I mean by self-sabotage is like once a young lady understands that I am essentially there for her and not trying to give her any, not trying to give her any static, that I communicate, that I communicate well, that I'm emotionally intelligent, that just a lot of things that a woman with a checklist would have, having those traits in abundance. Not to toot my own horn here, but just working to be the best version of myself, and then understanding what the female brain does deem to be attractive. It does draw a concern from, I'll say, like myself, a scenario in which the woman feels like it's too good to be true type shit. Now these are not, literally, this is not my words. This is more so what is coming and what their words as well as their actions indicate, as far as like it's just too good to be true type shit, and I'm just as human as she is. I assure you, loaded with flaws, but for whatever reason, self-sabotage. We'll find a way to fuck this up on her end. Not saying I won't fuck it up on my end, but certainly from the woman's end, find a way. Whether that is retorting back to behavior that you're comfortable with, that you once served you with male traits prior to me, and it no longer serves you. Really, That's being honest with it. It no longer serves you. So when I see that and finding, and I can just visualize it, I can see you going out of your way to create unnecessary conflict. I can see you distancing yourself. I can see you acting like you don't deserve this shit and whatnot. Like you're rejecting love. And I can recognize it because I'm well versed in it, myself. So, but commonly in those scenarios where it's like you start to show, you start to show that you're really interested in a young lady, and then once that part is there, it's almost like it's not comparing a woman to a dog, but it's like a dog that was chasing a car in traffic. You wouldn't know what to do if you caught it, type thing. And when you do catch, when that person, I just say woman, but for a situation, obviously I'm into women, so, but this person wouldn't know what to do if they got the thing that they were actually looking for. They were actually casting their reel for in the ocean to pull out, whatever the deem, prize is, for that. So when that happens, it gets annoying, man. It's like you spend all that time trying to get me to feel emotion, trying to get me to open up, trying to get me to be to see something past, dating and all this shit. And once my mindset starts to move there, this is the part where you want to distance yourself. This is where it's getting too much for you and all these other shit. So commonly, just speaking from experience, the fear, I won't say a fear, but definitely concern is self-sabotage and commitment, right? Commitment isn't necessarily the issue, I would say, for me. If I, putting minds together as far as full on with that stuff. The issue is that once I believe, and this is my perspective, okay? Once I believe that I full on do this, no joke, commitment, straight up, now tell me, that is when the retraction starts. That is where the moonwalk becomes very, prevalent in the young lady. Now, to be fair, I was very much like, I would say somewhat of a smothering type for unhealed wounds. And it's not fair to project those insecurities onto the woman, but even still just showing up, being effective, doing the things that I would want done for me. And even that behavior, it starts to get rejected. So it does make you want to pause and question yourself, like, do you really want to go all out for this, only for this to happen? Fear, sure, that's fear, because you either live in love or you live in fear. Holding myself accountable live on the fucking show. But that's essentially what goes through like my mind, is like, if I go through with this, when I go through with this, and it's full throttle, and I know how much I can essentially care for a woman, especially if she operates, she chooses to operate in her feminine, you know what I mean, or wants to even learn how to operate in her feminine around me. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for her, but that does become a cause for concern when you do invest all of this into this, and then this individual just starts self-sabotaging for whatever reason, man. It's like that whole "I don't deserve this shit," and those who know me know how I feel about that term "deserve" anyway. But it's something that they find a way to self-sabotage, just because it's what they're used to, and it's not a beat up on woman thing, because I certainly have self-sabotaged myself in the same regards, but it just the timing and just the way that things went before. So it's like trying to gauge that, also hone in, masculine frame, and work on your purpose, of course, number one. That's just that comes first, above all else. But then to have that situation where it's like, all right, you're starting to reveal a little bit more, you're starting to open up a little bit more, and then like that, it almost comes off as if it's a little too much for being seen. And not everyone can take being seen and still be, loved. And that's that's something for really all of us to think about. Like I said, this is not a bashing of women type thing, or this particular type of woman. This is more so just explaining the scenario and answering the topic question, of course, first and foremost. But I see it as like, it's just fear. I have the fear that you're living in fear is really what's going on. Like self-sabotage. I just anticipate that feeling where, you got those, that woman that believes like the rug is about to be pulled from underneath her. So she tries to prepare for the blow. And, you essentially pay for somebody else's mistakes. You paid for the trauma that they once endured. And it gets exhausting. It's like, and I just stand by the premise that I'd rather be alone with peace than together with like chaos and, unsurety, confusion, and all those things that get in the way when feelings get involved. And yes, the thing is, half the time you don't even realize that you're doing it. It's because of, again, it's just your body reacting to you're not sure that you're going to have that safety in an unsafe world. I totally get it. I totally understand it. It is tough, but I just find it very confusing, exhausting, and annoying when it was your ass to keep pushing for the relationship, but emotionally, from a recovery standpoint, no one's going to ever be fully healed. I'm very well aware of that. But from that standpoint, you're not ready. And that was okay. We could have just, kept dating. There's no time limit as far as how long we have to date. Fuck with your friends pressuring you about fucking marriage. Fuck that. The objective is to have something that's fucking healthy, and that's something that can last and sustain over a period of time together. The objective is to be together. But when you want to rush into shit because you feel like you're being left out, you're the only one that's not, married yet, or, families in your ear talking about when you're going to get married and have kids or whatever, what I'm saying? You're like, what I'm saying? Like your family, your friend group, tribe, support group, whatever they're pumping in your mind, I would prefer something healthy. And if that means going through the motions while dating, fuck it, let's go through the fucking motions. We can learn how to love each other that way, but we don't have to rush into learning how to love each other in a sense of like jumping into like a marriage or something like that, and then we just continuously project these insecurities that could have been settled, handled, managed, find a synonym for it prior to us getting into something that is a commitment long term. That's my mentality. That's how I see it. Yeah. Is there, like fear, commitment, like what you would normally place upon a man? Sure. I'll give you that. Yes. Just a tad. But more so that, but take into consideration that too, from a male's perspective, as far as like coming in it, you're going to invest in this relationship, and then the individual feels it's too much. The very same individual that asked for this shit, but you finally got what you asked for, and you don't know how to handle it emotionally upstairs because you're afraid that it's going to be taken from you, and all this other shit, but we didn't have to press so much for it. We could have taken our fucking time. I've definitely been in that situation where I rushed into something, and then it was just two wounded inner children inside a relationship. and we just kept projecting onto one another. We just kept trying to be seen, heard, and loved, you know, and trying to have trying to make the other person our parent. And I just don't find that to be healthy anymore. I find it to be exhausting, and I even got to catch myself, you know, I would say even to this day, about myself, and emotion and all of that, and being wise to it, being hip to it, being understanding of my own emotions, and then triggers and all of that, being very mindful of those triggers, and as well as recognizing that if it's not happening, you know, right now, it's not happening. And you don't have to go Chicken Little, the sky is falling, because this one thing that triggered you before, that is not the same person. And that's very much a challenge. It's very much a challenge, and you don't want to announce that. You know, I mean, you want to communicate, but you don't want to announce that. That's the type of stuff you can handle in-house. You can handle that inside your mind, inside your body. That's what breathing exercises tend to be pretty helpful for that. But I mean, that's honestly, that is a legitimate concern, fear, what have you, that I think about when it comes to like a relationship, is that self-sabotage thing, and you just feeling like just fuck that, live in the present moment. Embrace this shit for as long as it can, because none of this shit is permanent. We are here temporarily on this earth. We are here temporarily, probably in this moment, probably in this relationship, situationship, friendship, anything with the ship is temporary, okay? And there's nothing we have is permanent. Nothing is permanent. So might as well live in the present moment, because that's all we fucking have. You can listen to all the gurus of the universe, all the psychologists, Eckhart Tolle's, the Don Miguel Ruiz, the Alan Watts, all of them. Everybody's talking about living in the fucking present moment. And until we listen, we're going to end up in the past. We're going to try to prevent something from happening that happened in the past and the future. So we're all living off of anxiety. You got some people that's dealing with depression. You got some people that's dealing with anxiety. But until we find that present moment, we will suffer. And we're choosing to suffer at that. And I close out this topic saying that we're choosing our own suffering, because we fear love. And there's no fear in love. And there's no love in fear. So it's all of us learning to kind of manage our emotions and push forward. But the biggest fear in biggest relationship fear would be that of a woman that feels like it's too good to be true, and then decides to self-sabotage so that she can regulate her nervous system back to what she knew before. What's something you're still learning how to say out loud? I love you unconditionally, Rome. I am enough. And what I mean by that is retorting back to a time where you felt like you weren't enough, and you make yourself small so that others can feel big. And there's no need for that anymore, because you working on the best version of yourself has nothing to do with anybody else. Anybody that got an issue with you working on yourself, trying to better yourself, doing things every day, challenging yourself every day, that's an internal issue. It has nothing to do with you. I like to definitely praise those who continuously work at themselves every day, and even those that don't feel like they have to do that. You know, they're fine just being that. No harm done, no love lost, any of that. It's just, when you see a person that's working at it every fucking day, they're trying to learn something, they're trying to read something, they're trying to study something, they're trying to work out, they're trying to eat better, all of that. Don't knock them because you didn't decide to do it. And I had to learn to be like, fuck that. I'm gonna continuously work at myself and do that and make that a ritual every day, a mental routine. It's a mental program that I put myself on about 5 years ago, that I was gonna work my mind every day. I was going to read something, study something every day. I was going to work out, not every day, but enough, 4 days a week. I'm working out, and then even dieting recently. Recently, I started keto. I tried to challenge myself because I've heard many challenges about being in keto, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. I like to be stubborn. I like to challenge myself and put myself through something that very well may take a lot out of me. That's what she said. And I decide that I'm gonna do this somehow, some way. I'm gonna knock this out. And I can honestly say it's worked. It's definitely worked. The discipline. I love a good plan for discipline. I can say that. I definitely love a good plan for discipline. But learning to say I love you unconditionally is like accepting all the things from the past, the things that you're not so proud of, the things that you are proud of, where you became, the things that you didn't get to accomplish that you wanted to do throughout your life, accepting where you are in the present moment. And that's can be a struggle for some of us because we believe that our life should have been this way. Instead of just taking life as is, we look at life as what we wanted it to be. And until we accept it, we're going to go against the grain. We're going to suffer. We're going to do the opposite of amor fati. We're going to think life is about what we want it to be, not so much what it is. And there are times and there are moments where life can go the way that you want it to go, what you work towards and all that stuff. But then there's times where you just have to accept the fact that this thing didn't work out, this relationship didn't work out, your parents got divorced, you and your siblings don't talk anymore, and there's still time, obviously if they're still alive, there's still time to kind of sort that thing out. You're not as close with your kid as you thought you were. You're not as close with your mom as you thought you were. Not as close with your father as you thought you were. But accepting that and not acting like you don't know what that means, but working towards being better at that by, working on yourself and being honest with yourself and doing your part. You're responsible for every relationship that you have. Your half of every relationship that you have, you are responsible for. And, that's something that Don Miguel Ruiz kind of touches on in The Mastery of Love, which is a book that I definitely recommend. I say again, The Mastery of Love is a book that I recommend for everyone to kind of check out. And you just get a different perspective on the concept of love, what it means to love yourself, what it means to love a person just as is. And that's a tough thing to do because commonly we meet someone and then we want to turn them into the person that we want them to be versus learning how to love them. And I can honestly say I'm guilty of it too. And I've had it done to me, but you do your best to grow. And the only person you can control is yourself. And in that, loving yourself unconditionally is a mission. It's definitely a mission I try to practice every day. I do my best to stay out of my head where the ego lives. The ego is strong. The ego is large in stature. The ego will have you thinking that you're not enough when you don't have to be anything. And that's the beauty of finding the soul. The soul it just is, right? I've said that many times over the years, is that the ego, the ego is operating when you feel like you're not enough. I don't care what you're doing, how young you are, how old you are. Somebody taught you that you weren't enough. And the ego can tell lies. And you are not to believe your thoughts a lot of times. You are to observe your thoughts, but you are not to absorb your thoughts. What you can do is breathe. practice breathing, learning breathing exercises, learning to just be still. Be still with your mind. The thoughts that roam through, let them go through. Come in the front door, go out the back door. Pass, let the clouds pass. All of those, different scenarios that help you kind of, process thoughts. And it's definitely helped me process thoughts because I overthought a lot of things. I definitely overthought a lot of things. I'm very much a perfectionist. I wasn't good enough. If it wasn't perfect, I wasn't good enough. I have to keep going at it. Progress. I will work for that love. I will die. I will die trying to get this love, what I perceive to be love, this attention, this, pat on the back, whatever it was, I was willing to do it. And in that, I was not loving myself unconditionally. I was loving myself conditionally. I was loving myself conditionally in the sense of like, if you don't do this, you ain't shit. And that's a conversation for the ego to kind of push forth. But to be at one with your soul, be at one with God and the universe, you will recognize that you are fine just the way you are. There's room for improvement, but you're fine just the way you are. You're enough. You are enough. But each day is going to take a different enough. So it's that. With that being said, you work at yourself. You do the work. You recognize that you're enough. And sometimes that's really all we need to hear. Maybe from somebody that we really wanted to hear that from, maybe a parent, maybe from your kids, to solidify the fact that you see I'm doing the best that I can to ensure that you have a better life than me in some way, shape, or form. Those things, they mean a lot to people, but you're not entitled to get that. And you can die inside trying to wait for whoever your target is to kind of even share that with you, that you are enough. You want to hear from your parents that, I love you unconditionally no matter what you do. You want to hear that you are enough from your parents. You want to hear you are enough from your kids, whatever it is. But the voice that really, really has to let it ring home is yours. And that's the tough thing. It's like you got to quiet the noise around you so that you can listen to your voice. Like the true voice, not the ego voice, not the one, that tells you all the negative shit. That's the ego. But the soul speaks from love. And to be able to sit in love and spread that love inside your mind and see things from that perspective, it changes the way that you see things. It changes the way you see yourself. It changes the way you see others. You develop more grace for people when you learn to know that they're just as human as you are, that they also are sleepwalking through their pain. And sometimes they'll project, their pain cup gets filled up so fucking high. Sometimes a little bit of juice might spill on your shirt, but sometimes it's intentional, but I believe most of it is unintentional when that happens. But make sure you're not in close proximity of somebody that keeps spilling fucking pain juice. You got to be smart now. You got to be intelligent and recognize, all right, this motherfucker is determined to keep projecting their pain onto me. Stand the fuck clear, avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. Just think COVID, 6 feet. Give me 6 feet. Backs the fuck up from me with your pain, with you being negative, constantly bringing others down and making everything about you, making the focus about you. You feel like a victim, you speak like a victim, and you're waiting for somebody to come and parent you. You're the parent you've been waiting for. That's just what it is. You're the parent you've been waiting for. And that's for anybody that can relate to it. It's not to single you out. That's not to point fingers. That's just to be honest with ourselves, because I've been there where I was pointing the finger at everybody but me, as far as who was responsible for my life. And I had to reparent myself. Still reparenting myself for that matter. Trying to navigate through this shit, learn how to be a parent, whatever that means. And just trying to figure this whole life shit out. Having grace for your parents once you become one, and seeing that they gave the best that they could, even if it felt like it wasn't the best that they could. And you only believe that because you know what you know. And if you knew what they knew, you might have understand why they did their best. But if they knew what you knew, maybe their best would be different. And just let that sink in your mind, what was just said. But what I've learned to say a lot more out loud, like I said, is that I love you unconditionally, Rome, and you're enough. What's an invisible thing that you wish humans could see? Energy. I wish that you could see that you were walking into some negative energy and that you could turn your ass around and stay away from it. Or if you feel like you got the power to heal said negative energy, by all means, take a stab at it. But energy. I truly do wish that we could see energy. And I could feel it. I could feel your energy before I'm around you. When I'm on the phone, I can feel your energy from seeing you in a picture. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just gonna give credit to God and the universe for that ability to do it. But I do wish that humans were able to see energy. What was positive energy? What was negative energy? That person, were they out to do harm to one? Can you avoid that? Can you stay away from that? That little kid that wanted to hang out with those kids in the middle school thinking that they're cool and they're actually up to no good, and they want to make you look bad. They want to give you swirlies if you're old enough to remember what those are in the bathroom. I really do wish that we could see energy. And now, like I said, I believe you can feel energy, but you have to train your mind, your soul, your spirit for that. But if there was something that I wish that humans could see that was invisible, it would certainly be energy. What isn't real that you desperately wish was? The fairy tale love, right? This is a great episode for that mushy shit and from a masculine presence. But yeah, the fairy tale love, the whole thing of I'll give you the moon if I could, or Jasmine, hop on my flying carpet. Let me take you around the world. Let me show you all these things. I'm gonna be everything to you. If every R&B song was realistic, Babyface, I'll buy your clothes, I'll cook your dinner as soon as I get home from work. All those songs that had people, looking at their loved ones inside the concert, knowing that real life ain't got shit to do with these fucking lyrics that have been, fabricated and fantasized about over time. But yeah, that love exists in only one's mind. And the thing about that is that you start directing a film. You direct this romance comedy, sometimes horror. You have this drama. You have this romance comedy, drama, sometimes horror movie that you create. But the thing is that you're only looking at it from your perspective. You're not taking into consideration the other person. And then what if they were trying to create the film too? Yeah, what if there's two directors, right? And the scripts don't match. And that one director believes that the other director doesn't know how to love them properly. They're not doing it the right way. They're loving me wrong, because of this fantasy shit. And that type of love it's really only coming from that one perspective, and commonly like those Disney films that we grew up on about love and all that shit, that's coming from what we as young boys thought that a young girl wanted. And of course, over time, feminists have definitely targeted Disney films as damsel in distress shit, which I understand that part, but I'm not sold on the whole feminist movement. I can honestly say, I'm speaking for myself, nobody else, but in a sense of, there's a sense of traditionalism that I do support, and I do definitely promote, and I stand by. And there's that whole thing of men leading with masculinity, as well as allowing a woman to be in her femininity. I don't believe that she's not capable of doing something. I don't believe you're a damsel in distress, like you're just this hopeless, doe waiting to be saved by, Prince Charming or what have you. No, that's not what that's not what I'm into. It's not what I believe. But what I will say is that, it is up for us as men to create a realm of safety, a kingdom, if you will, an experience where a woman can feel safe enough to be in her feminine. Like those Disney films, I believe they come from the perspective of the hopeless romantic woman. Commonly, I mean, you look at Ariel. Ariel was willing to give up her voice for Eric. You know what I'm saying? Now Jasmine had a little more fight to her. She was like, I'm not some prize to be won. She still went on that fucking magic carpet ride, I tell you that shit. But nevertheless, she went on a carpet ride. But like Cinderella, you know what I'm saying? Like this damsel in distress, working for a stepmom that don't know how to treat her right, and then it's like, I'm gonna go off with this with this prince or whatever, and we're gonna live happily ever after. Like those things, like I feel like that gave more of that perspective. But in my understanding of relationships, what I've had to learn, because I went in with that fantasy shit a lot of times because that's what I saw. I spent a lot of time alone in my room, so I'm only getting my perspective. I'm not understanding that a relationship is going to take the other side too, and in learning how to love somebody. It's a challenge. It's simple, but it's challenging. And to do that, and over time, is like, as long as you went with what was going on in my script, everything was okay. The moment that you did not perform what I had in my script, I ended the movie. I checked out as director. I check out. That's honestly, I could say that I did. It's that fantasy shit. It's you can probably call it even love bombing, in a way. I can be honest with myself about it, but that's because that's all I knew. I'm sitting here trying to find this fantasy love because I've never seen like a healthy love, originate. How does one develop how to love somebody? Or do you just expect them to know how to love you? That's what the fuck I thought. I thought, you gotta know how to love me. How? I just met you. Like, no, you ain't doing the love stuff though, But we all come from different backgrounds. We come from different cultures, and some of us tend to date outside our cultures, date outside our backgrounds, and then once we meet these people, we expect them to know how to love us based off of what we what we grew up in. But for some of us, what we grew up in wasn't the healthiest shit. So I wouldn't even want somebody to love me that way, and maybe the same for them. But just imagine. If one learned how to essentially love oneself and then try to learn how to love somebody else. Because once you learn how to love yourself, you can learn how to love somebody else. And because however you treat yourself is how you treat other people. I know there's no getting around it. It's not. There's no getting around it. I've learned that on many occasions, that how I treat myself is how I treat other people. So to take all of that into consideration and learning to be more thought-provoking, learning to be a better listener, learning that there is more world outside of what I want in life, at the same time being decisive, at the same time learning how to lead, at the same time holding frame, at the same time managing emotions, at the same time teaching others how to manage their emotions. And it's challenging, especially when you have triggered emotions that arise in you as a man, but it's part of the journey. That's part of being man, in my opinion, is to learn how to manage that. And how do you do that? You got to put yourself in position to where you do get triggered. As backwards as that may be, but once you put yourself in the fire, you learn how to manage it. You learn how to handle the grill a little bit. You know, I say that because right when COVID first started, that's when I taught myself how to grill. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing with fire. I just knew that shit was gonna burn down my patio, but I learned how to manage the flame. And I put myself in it. I had to be in it in order to manage it. And for a long time, I didn't want to be inside the flame, if you get what I'm saying, as far as for this scenario. So it's learning how to manage the flame. And once you know how to become a grill master, you can teach others how to manage the flame. And that's what I believe our position is as man, is to do that. And still learning the grill. And you can take that for the literal thing, because I am still trying to learn, still learning how to grill, but also, you know, the concept of love. What does that mean? What is healthy? What's unhealthy? What does it mean to be masculine? What are some things, you know, what does it mean, red pill, blue pill, and all that other shit, you know what I'm saying, that comes along with it. There's a lot to take into consideration as far as what is deemed to be attractive as well, too, as a man. You have to understand what is attractive to the female species, just as much as a woman has to figure out what is attractive to the male species. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, but what isn't real to me is definitely the Disney concept of love. And I think it was more for entertainment than it was to be like reality based. And I think for some of us, we thought that was how you got the girl. You know, you did all the things that she wanted to do. You said all the nice things. Meanwhile, she goes off with the bad boy, at least in the younger days. And but as you get older, you understand it was not so much that she just wanted the bad boy. She just wanted to feel safe. You wanted protection. And how do you mature that? How do you mature that way of, you know, being not so necessarily the bad boy, but at least somebody that, you know, is civilized yet dangerous enough to where you're trusted to be to protect, and you're trusted to be safe with one's emotions. Yeah, you can learn all these things, and we're still learning as men how to figure this shit out. But we definitely got to take a stand as far as being masculine in this current society, as it's trying to penalize us for our masculinity. But fuck all of that. I'm staying in it. I'll stand on it. I'll die on my shield. The fact that men are to be masculine, regardless of what movement, whatever term you want to call it, to try to prevent men from being masculine, and making it okay for women to be masculine, and making it okay for men to be, operate in their feminine. I'm standing behind that whole thing of us to be masculine. But nevertheless, that I do wish that the Disney love was, that type of love was real. But reality never looks so good once you learn how to love, and that's just something that we all can do. It's just learn how to love, learn how to lead for men. Learn how to love. But another one in the books. Thank you guys so much for following the show. Be sure to follow the show on many platforms now. I've been gracious enough to figure out how to add that. So if you got Amazon Music, you can check out the show. Be sure to check out the Facebook page so that you can look at all the links for that. For Amazon, Pandora, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok's got the clips. Not the rap group, but the clips from the show. And iHeart, I'm trying to figure out a way to get on iHeart, some other places where you can actually watch the show. But thank you, truly, thank you guys for watching the show, for listening to the show, supporting the show however it is that you do, sharing it. For people that we're not even in conversation anymore, we don't talk, but you still listen to the show, your support means more than you know. truthfully. And this lets me know that I've allowed God and the universe to use me as a tool of spreading said messages, even if you don't fuck with me no more. But I say that in love. But I do wish everyone positive and healing energy, who's ever listening to this. But that's a wrap. I'm out. Good night, kids. What does your dream house look like? All right, dream house for me. I want to be in this. I'd like to have many houses, if I'm being honest, man. But this one in particular, if you just to get an idea for it, just think about Iron Man 3 and the house that was on the mountains in Malibu, California, that got blew up by the so-called villain of that movie. But yeah, something like that, you know, White House on the mountains, having a patio where you're just able to listen to the ocean and watch whales, because, you know, in California they have whales in the ocean. So like being able to sit out there and listen to Bossa Nova or Diana Krall radio or Pandora, or just Diana Krall in general, not just on Pandora, but being able to listen to easy listening music that just it's freeing, it's, you know, it's calm. And then of course listen to them classics, them funk classics, the R&B classics, the rock classics, the of course hip hop, you know, hip hop we grew up on. And just to be it's just nice out there to have a basketball court, like a full on, like a half court, not a full court, but just a half court, just whenever you want to go out there and just shoot with, you know, your family or your friends. There is about probably 8 bedrooms. Let's say that 8 bedrooms, just because one of them obviously being a master bedroom, another one being a game room that is just looks like it's its own arcade, and it's just filled with a bunch of arcade machines that you know, I adored growing up. And the kitchen is amazing, you know, marble floors, and just a sight to see, really. Just something, it looks like something Egyptian. You know, the living room is its own house. That would be ideal. You know, just to have a nice sectional that kind of you know, encompasses all the space in there. So custom made sectional that is just almost looks like a, you know, like a movie theater. And that's another thing too. One of the rooms is a movie theater. Similar, you know, just biting off of Eddie Murphy's house, you know, bowling alley. Having a pool table, so billiards everywhere, its own bartender, should be serving them drinks, and having a small, like a miniature farm, like a mini farm, animals taken care of properly. I've said that, 5 dogs? I think I had it set up for where I wanted 5 dogs. Like a very small dog, like, you know, that couch type dog that run everybody. Yeah, 5 dogs. Yeah, there's about 5 dogs. 1 small dog and 4 like larger dogs. The shower is a waterfall. Literally, like the shower is a waterfall, and it's just peace. Honestly, you know, that's just that one house. I mean, there's many other houses I'd like to have. I'd like to have a log cabin, at some point in time. Just get away from the world, get away from social media, block out the world, and just relax. You know, I'd like to have definitely a high riser. I'd like to have a high riser in South Florida somewhere, just to, same thing, watch the ocean, just see how pretty the water is. To me, Miami has very beautiful water, but Destin is probably my favorite place I've been that have seen water. I definitely recommend that everyone get to see the water in Destin. at least once in your life, as well as, you know, Jamaica, Ochos Rios. You know, the water was pretty nice out there too. But yeah, to have a home in Miami, have a home, well, you know, a log cabin, I'm not exactly sure where, but yes, definitely a home in Cali, you know, in the mountains at Malibu House. And yeah, really, that's it. You know, honestly, that's all I can think of right now. But I mean, those are the ideas that I have when it comes to a dream house.